Good morning, kiddos. Today we are going to continue working on finding the volume of a composite solid figure. Composite solid is a solid that can be made by putting together two or more rectangular prisms. To find the volume of such a composite solid, you want to divide it into individual prisms. So you can use the formula volume is equal to length times width times height to find the volume of each individual prism, and then you can add the two volumes together to find the total volume of that composite solid. On the remembering side today, you're going to be reviewing dividing a whole number by a decimal and then finding volume. I think the best way for me to do this is to bring up a picture. You can see that we only have on the homework side 5 problems, and on the remembering side you only have 7. So it's a pretty short assignment today. But I'm going to break up the composite solids so that you can see how you can do that, and I'm going to try to pull up a smaller picture and then just dissect it with you as we go. If you look here at number 1, you can see that there are 2 different composite solids that are combined together. And the first one would be this rectangular prism here, and the second one would be this rectangular prism here. The thing that you have to do first is figure out where you want to divide it. And you can divide it either way that you'd like, meaning you could go straight across here and divide it there, or you could go straight down and divide it there. Either is fine. I'm going to leave it right here at this, and we will go ahead and figure out the volume of each individual rectangular prism, and then we'll add those together. I have added our formula here. Volume is equal to length times width times height, and that I just put it up here in the corner so that you can refer to that throughout the lesson. So our first one, if we look at the first composite solid here, and I'll just put a little green box around it here so you can see. But our first composite solid is going to be length times width times height. We're going to say that it's going to be 10 times 4 times 3. And then you would just take your 10 times 4, which is equal to 40, times 3, which is equal to 120. You're going to keep that number, I'm going to write it over here, and you're going to have 120, and then you're going to add it to your other composite solid volume. When looking at your second composite solid, I'm going to just put a little purple spot around it here, and I'm going to explain to you how you can figure out each piece of that. Right now, in this front part here, we need to know how wide it is, okay? And that is going to be our 16, but we took out a chunk here when we did the other composite solids. We took out this chunk right here, and we know that this chunk is 3 centimeters because we can see that this side is equal to this chunk here. So we have to take 16 minus 3 to figure out our width. And so we're going to have 13 times, and then we have to figure out, we know that the height here is 3, and then we know that we need to figure out one more piece, and that is going to be the depth, which is how far back it goes. And we know that because this piece here is the same as this piece here, that it's going to be times 4. And so we have 13 times 3, which is 39, times 4 is equal to 156. And then we're going to take that 156 and we're going to add it over here to our 120, and we're going to come up with an answer of 276 cubic centimeters. I'm going to write the answer over here in the white so that you can see it a little better. This will be what goes on line number 1, is 276 cubic centimeters. Here is a blown up picture of number 2, and we're going to do the same thing here. We need to divide it into 2 composite solids so that we can figure out the volume of each. And for me, I would slice it right there where I put the red line. It just makes a little more sense to me, and then I can figure out what I have to work with. My first one, because I have all of the sides already, this one here, I am going to go ahead and figure that one out first. And I'm going to use my formula, which I have up here in the corner again, and its volume is equal to 15 times 15 times 30. If we take 15 times 15, it's equal to 225 times 30 is equal to 6,750. I keep that number, and I'm going to move it over like we did in the last one so that I don't lose it. So that composite solid is 6,750. You could also just write it right into the composite solid if you'd like, if that makes it a little simpler for you. And now I'm going to go and figure out the next composite solid. This one, we're missing one of the sides, and what you can see here in the picture is we have this end here is 35 millimeters, and this end is equal to that. So 35 millimeters there. We have 22 deep, and what we are missing here is the purple part, which is the height here. But we can see that the height is the same as right there, so the height is going to be 15. So our missing height there is going to be 15 millimeters. And now we just need to use our volume is equal to length, which is 35, times width, which is 22, and times the height, which is 15. And 35 times 22 is equal to 770 times 15, which is equal to 11,550. And I need to take that number and I need to add it to my 6,750. So 0 plus 0 is 0, 5 and 5 is 10, carry your 1. 7 and 5 is 12, plus 1 is 13, carry your 1. 6 and 1 is 7, plus 1 more is 8, and 1 plus nothing is 1. So you have 18,300 cubic millimeters. And your answer for number 2 is 18,300 cubic millimeters. For number 3, we need to break our composite solid into 2 rectangular prisms, and I'm going to splice it right there to make our two rectangular prisms. Our first one, I have our formula up here. You're probably memorizing it by now, but I'm going to take my first one, and it's going to be 4, volume is equal to 4 times 13 times 3. 4 times 13 is equal to 52 times 3 is equal to 156, and we save that number as our first, and you can write it right in it if you'd like, 156, and it would be cubic inches on this one, or you can write it over here, 156, so you have it. And then we're going to go on and do our next prism. And now we're going to need to look at our other one here. And we have volume is equal to, and we have a height. We need the length of 4. I guess that'd probably be the width. Then we have the height of 3. And what we're missing from what I can see is the depth, and that's knowing how deep or how far back it goes, this line here. And we can see that in this one, it's 4, and we can see that they're the same because they're part of the same piece, so it's going to be times 4. And 4 times 3 is equal to 12, times 4 is equal to 48. We take our 48 here, and we're going to add it to our 156. And 8 plus 6 is equal to 14. Put down your 4 and carry your 1. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 1 more is 10. Put down your 0, carry your 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So we have 204 cubic inches for number 3. Number 4 says, the exterior of a refrigerator is shaped like a rectangular prism and measures 2 2/3 feet wide by 5.5 feet high by 2.5 feet deep. What amount of space does the refrigerator take up? And you can go ahead and draw it if you need to, or you can just simply plug it into your formula where you take 2 2/3 times 5.5 times 2.5. and you're just going to multiply those fractions together. Remember, when multiplying fractions, you want to take your mixed number and convert it to a fraction. And I'll change my colors. 2 times 3 is 6, plus the numerator plus 2 is 8 over 3 times, and we have 5 times 2, which is 10, plus 1 is 11 over 2 times, and we're going to go 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5 over 2. And then you get to multiply straight across. 8 times 11 is 88, and 3 times 2 is 6, and then you're going to multiply that by 5 over 2, and 88 times 5 is equal to 440, and 6 times 2 is equal to 12. So you're coming out with 440 over 12, and you need to then divide 440 divided by 12. I'll make some room here. And I'll just set that up like a regular division problem here. And I have 440 divided by 12, and 12 can go into 4 0 times. 12 can go into 44 3 times, which is 36. And I have to borrow 14, and this becomes a 3. 14 minus 6 is equal to 8, and 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down my 0. 12 can go into 80 6 times, which is equal to 72. This becomes a 10 I have to borrow. That becomes a 7. And I'm left with 8. So my answer, I'm then going to take my remainder and I'm going to write it over the top of my divisor. So my answer is 36 and 8 twelfths. Well, I can reduce 8 twelfths, and I know that 4 goes into both 8 and 12. So really it's going to be 36, and 4 can go into 8 2 times, and 4 can go into 12 3 times. So 36 and 2/3 cubic feet for number 4. 36 and 2/3 cubic feet. And for number 5, I'm going to have you do number 5 on your own, and it says write a composite solid, or draw a composite solid of your own. And what that means is you're making 2 rectangular prisms that you're attaching together, okay, any size you want, and then write the dimensions of it. And then what you're going to do then is, after you've created your composite solid out of 2 rectangular prisms, you're going to solve for the volume on your own. And remember, you're just doing something that looks just like numbers 1, 2, or 3. And you get to decide the size, the shape, the dimensions. So pause your video now and work on that for a couple of minutes. And then when you've finished that, hit play again and we'll work on the remembering side. On the remembering side here, we're just dividing with the divisor being a decimal. And remember that when we divide using a decimal and divisor, we always want to remove the decimal. And in order to do that, we shift the decimal. And I'm going to show you I think I'll do number 6 for you, which is right here. I wrote it up here in the corner so I had a little more space to work. Remember, whatever you do to the divisor, you also do to the dividend. And here, in order to get the divisor to be a whole number, I have to shift my decimal 1, 2 places to the right. So I'm going to have to do the same thing to my dividend. 1, 2 places to the right, I fill in my blank space with a 0. And then I just need to divide. 6 can go into 2, 0 times. 6 can go into 27, 4 times, which is 24. I need to subtract. 7 minus 4 is equal to 3. 2 minus 2 is 0. Bring down my 3. And 6 can go into 33 5 times, which is 30. 3 minus 0 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down my 0. And 6 can go into 30 5 times again. And I bring my decimal up. I should have done that right at the beginning. Always put your decimal on first. But my answer is going to be 455. When you get down to number 7 here, remember that you need to use your formula. Volume equals length times width times height. And your answer is going to be in cubic feet. If you have any questions, send me a chat on Teams or email me. I hope you're all doing well. Take care.